Alright, listen up everyone. They've announced that the technical regulations are changing for next season. Now there's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful, so let's figure out how to mitigate this. Drivers, take a look at the developments we have and let us know what you want to invest in protecting. Alright everyone, let's get on top of this.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 18 today for the Japanese Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one. But we start off this episode then, as you saw there clearly, by the R&D reset finally being confirmed there in the cutscene by our engineer Carl. And so the thing that will be reset is the aerodynamic department, like we got in an email a few episodes ago. So there you go, all the R&D parts of the aero tree are in orange, the ones at least we purchased already. And so we've got 5 weeks then, 5 races, 5 episodes to try and adapt every single part to try and save them. Of course, I don't know, honestly, at this stage, hand on heart, if I'm going to be staying at Alfa Romeo Racing or not, because I'm still yet to really see what the vibe will be like, you know, what Season 2 could be like, you know, along with the driver transfers, where we end up at the very end of the season at Abu Dhabi with performance. You know, do I think we can really make a challenge in Season 2? I don't really know, and, you know, what other teams might want me, but all I know is I want to try and do the best job for this team, at least right now in Season 1, because I'm still very much a part of the team and trying to adapt as many parts as we can. So you can see we've done a lot of good saving, even though we purchased an upgrade for the Mexican Grand Prix. We've saved most parts. We've got 3 parts left to save there, so I think we've done a pretty damn good job. I think we will have enough points, maybe by the end of this episode, maybe, to save every single bit of the aero tree, which will be massive, I think, because some other teams might have not saved as much, and so we might be in a very good position with this team at the start of Season 2. But, you know, that's the major bit of news that really started this episode. I guess there's nothing more to say, but let's get straight into the action then and dive into qualifying on Saturday around Suzuka.
Welcome to the only figure of 8 track on the F1 calendar. We're here at Suzuka for qualifying today ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. In recent seasons, much talk has been made about tyre wear. Some say it gets in the way of the racing, others say it's always been part of the sport. Are we going to see drivers trying to look after their tyres here, or throw caution to the wind and worry about that when it becomes a problem?
Tyre wear is always something you have to consider to a certain degree. Finding a good car balance that suits the circuit will help prolong the life of the tyre, but it's true that some circuits, such as this one, are more challenging than others. How hard you can push them depends on your strategy and how tight the battle is around you.
So running on board on a flying lap in Q1, then very overcast conditions at the moment, but it should be getting sunny as we get through into Q2 and hopefully Q3 as well. So the track may get a little bit faster as we go, as it rubbers in as well. The track temps go up, but right now a little bit of a sloppy lap that was. You saw going a little bit wide on the bridge on the overpass there, that was initially there, and then also just not great on the exit either and entry into the hairpin. So maybe some time to find already. Bit of understeer in the car. This setup, generally I went for a bit of a compromising setup. I maybe am running a little bit too low aero maybe than I should have in hindsight. Now looking back at this entire episode, you'll see what I mean maybe later on, but we do get through into Q2 just about in P15 there. I only set one time and I just risked it for a chocolate biscuit in terms of saving tyres, because I had a hunch that maybe I might need 2 sets of tyres in Q2 to get through into Q3, because of course since we've been saving R&D points for the last 3 episodes or 4 episodes, I can't remember really, the car has been going a little bit backwards, because if you aren't going forwards in Formula 1, you are going backwards because every other team is upgrading, and so we have kind of plateaued, and other teams around us, you know, the likes of Racing Point, Renault, Haas have been, and even Williams especially, have been closing up to us there. So the car has lost some general relative pace to the entire midfield. So I felt like we did need 2 sets of tyres for Q2, and what you know, we do, because we crossed the line, only P12 on that first run. Pretty bad mistake in the last corners, but also just not great in the initial sector as well. You can see we're already up on our time, decent amount of time gained into the hairpin despite that lock-up on the front left. A much better exit is going to be, we're already getting about 4 tenths there. By the end of it, it's well over a second to cross the line and just about get into Q3. The top 10 shootout by the skin of our teeth. P10, Raikkonen just about doesn't make it. P11, very close between myself and Kimi, Hulkenberg as well, and just showing the midfield fight is very, very close now as the other teams are closed up to us basically. You know, the likes of Williams also very much in the mix there. Once again, Lucas Weber doing a great job to get into the top 10 shootout. Now that might benefit Kimi, to be fair, because I don't know what the tyre wear is like, but now Kimi is best of the rest and has a free choice of tyres, and I'm not too confident confident we can even go higher than P10 because, like I said, the car wasn't feeling too amazing. I really felt like actually I probably should have put more downforce on the setup than I actually did, but I thought that I could get away with about 5.5 wings, but it really didn't feel that great. It kind of felt like the Alfa Romeo of old in the first part of the season where I didn't have enough grip to turn the car, and there was a massive general sense of understeer as we go across the line. It's a pretty horrendous lap time, but even if I did my Q2 best, that still wouldn't have been enough to really challenge too much there to Sergio Perez and Hulkenberg, as has been the case a few times in Q3. The AI really exponentially pull out the bag, and so in the end it is P10, so really I would have rather been P11 having free choice of tyres, because I like I said, I don't know what the tyre wear is like, but if it is going to be horrendous, then we might be able to pull off something clever, but alas, no we can't now because we're stuck on the soft tyres. But we're just going to have to bite the bullet then and just see how it goes in Sunday. Let's hope the race pace is a bit better than the qualifying pace, so let's get into the race then and go to the grid.
We're live today from the Mie Prefecture of Japan as we look forward to the Japanese Grand Prix. The 2015 race here was one of only 5 Grand Prix in history to feature no retirements at all. Although with the highly competitive field we have today, I don't expect we'll be repeating that stat anytime soon. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with average speeds approaching 136 miles per hour. DRS will be available, of course, into the potential passing opportunity at turn 1, although the best place for overtaking will be through 130R and into the final chicane. And all this will be happening under the watchful eye of Anthony Davidson, who joins me for today's race. And assuming the weather holds, where do you expect to see the action unfolding today, Ant?
Well, most of the time, passing here is limited very much into the final chicane, or maybe down into turn 1 if you get a good run and some assistance from DRS. But if we're lucky, we might see a bit of bravery into the hairpin, a place that Kamui Kobayashi certainly made his own in the 2010 Grand Prix on his way to a very impressive 7th place. And as you say, Crofty, this is all assuming that the conditions hold out. We know how quickly the clouds can come in here at Suzuka, and if they do, all bets will be off.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Faber, Perez, the engineer, Raikkonen and George Russell, Stroll, Butler, Daniel Ricciardo and Magnussen. Gasly, they've taken a grid penalty. Sainz, Lando Norris and Alexander Albon. Hulkenberg and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Right, so here we are on the grid, and the strategy is going to be a very peculiar choice between a 1-stop and a 2-stop. The 1-stop is softer to the hard tyres, the white wall, and then we've got a 2-stop with 2 sets of mediums. So it would appear the tyre wear is not too bad, but I'm also very sceptical of that first strategy here. It might have worked in F1 2018, but I just don't know right now with our car, especially the tyre wear, hasn't been too amazing with the Alfa Romeo, and in general the hard tyre on most circuits has not been the one to be on a lot of the time. So I'm gonna right now stick with that default strategy, but we might switch that to a 2-stop if I don't feel like the soft tyres are also going to go that distance as well, because that's quite a lot to ask on the softs. But here we go then, nonetheless, the 5 red lights to the Japanese Grand Prix here from P10 on the grid. 4 lights are out and we're underway, and it's a very slow start for us there as the soft tyres already don't have too much grip here, at least in my opinion, as we've had a horrendous one, and Russell's down my inside, and Raikkonen is soaring through on the left-hand side. They've made some contact with Russell. We're on the outside of Butler and just about to defend that to stay back into P10. Russell now fights Raikkonen. They're side by side, and Raikkonen is just about still pulling to the inside. Bit of contact made between the Finn and the Brit there. Russell did a really great job though to try and pull that Williams car up the grid. Obviously his teammate Weber did a much better job in qualifying, and he's actually pushed Raikkonen cleanly off there and got him for P8 there. Can we get Raikkonen for P9? We have a little look down the inside, but obviously he's my teammate, so I'm not going to make a diving move there to the inside. Now we're a bit of drifting through the next right-hander. Under the bridge we go, up into 4th gear now, climbing through the gears and then down the gears rapidly. Down the inside we go with a late dive bomb on Raikkonen, catching him napping somewhat into the hairpin, squeeze him out, and we do get him for P9. And now we'll try and get on the back of George Russell if we can, but that Williams car may be very slippery in a straight line. But actually, think about it, I must have been starting P9 then, because I went down to P10 after being overtaken by Russell, so there must have been some sort of grid penalty for someone that moved me up the order by 1. But now we're looking at the back of one of the Williams cars, and the other Williams car car is ahead of us. So you can see, really, we really have lost some pace in recent races relative to the midfield by not upgrading too much and saving for the adaptation of parts. But hopefully that'll be a long-term play that'll pay out for the team. But right now, we're just trying to do our best to stick with Russell as we go through the last chicane. In general, I've not been great through this last corner in the last few F1 games, to be honest. The AI always so good in traction. That's going to be another case, another year. Will it really be an F1 game in myself, where I didn't have the back end stepping out through that last corner and the AI catching me by so much there, as Raikkonen has a go around the outside. We're going very defensive into turn 1 and stay put in P9, but we've lost a handful of time to Russell already now as we move on later onto lap 2, and we've lost a lot of time. And right now, I can tell you, the car felt absolutely horrendous. I didn't know if it was the setup, it was the tyres, if it was both, but the car just felt like a boat. It had no pace, and it felt like I was driving the car I was driving at Australia, episode number 1 of this series here. Raikkonen sends one to the outside, to the inside for the next part of the chicane. He's on the outside last corner. He's dummy for traction. We'll get him back, though, with a slipstream, though, to be fair, and the slippery nature of our car. But I feel like maybe, the wings were a bit too low, like I already mentioned, especially in the race now with higher fuel. You'll definitely notice that way more. But also, like I said, the soft tyres, I didn't think they were going to go that long for a 1-stop. So I can already tell you I'm probably considering the 2-stop, because these tyres just aren't giving me much grip. Butler now has overtaken Raikkonen, though, so that might just be our car as well. But Weber is off at turn 1. He's nearly sideways there. Very slow, and he's down to P7. So now George Russell is the lead Williams car in this race. Weber's had some sort of issue. Unfortunately, I missed the replay camera to see what happened there, but I'm guessing he was maybe battling someone who got spewed off into turn 1. That's normally what happens there, and so we're going to try our best to chase after him. But you can see horrendously, by the time we get to lap 5, we're going so wide, we're extending the track, and we're nowhere near Lucas Weber. And now Raikkonen is right up my chuff and going to try and go for an overtake. So it's all going pretty horrendously right now. Raikkonen's going to try his best to send one to the inside. He actually is going to be down the inside, so we try and give him the room, but I've got no grip to actually make 130R and lift off there to give him the room, so we go completely off circuit, and he overtakes us there. So it's going from bad to worse, and at this point, I bite the bullet. I'm going to come in. I have to come in. I have to do something. If I just stay put out there, I'm just going to go backwards and backwards. So let's hope the undercut will work, and let's hope the 2-stop will be the way to go for us today, because we're going to go to a set of medium tyres, not hards, the yellow wall medium tyres, and we're going to try a 2-stop here, and let's hope it really was the tyres. I'm praying it was the tyres, and that on these mediums the car feels somewhat better, because if it's not, then I've messed up on the setup, and it's going to be a very painful long Japanese Grand Prix, and it's going to have vibes of the Canadian GP, where I felt like the car was broken. It doesn't feel as bad as it did at Canada. I feel like I do have some pace somewhat here and there, but that first stint was very hard to manage. I'll just say that in terms of the turn in the car. So we move on to lap number 6. Alexander Albon now is out of the Grand Prix. Yellow flag's up ahead, so has there been a classic manoeuvre at 130R? Maybe. No, it's not. It's in the final chicane, actually, so it looks like maybe he's parked up for mechanical failures, as he's parked up there on the inside of the chicane. So we're up into P18 then. Lando Norris now in P17. He's out of the Grand Prix, so a bit of carnage there, but he's actually out of the Grand Prix a lot further down the road than Albon there, so I don't know if those two incidents are related there, but he's off on the left-hand side, and so he might have been punted into the wall, perhaps, like I kind of did in the mod career, if you remember, with the Ferrari car in turn 1. But now we're up into P16 as we move on to lap number 10, and eventually some more people are going to make pit stops. We're up into P15 now as we overtake Ricciardo, and we come out into turn 1 with George Russell coming out just ahead of us. Now remember, Russell was ahead of Weber before the pit stops, because Weber had that mistake into turn 1, but now Weber has re-overtaken Russell in his undercar, and Russell's only come out just ahead of me, and I was massively behind him. So I feel like the undercar has actually been quite positive, and now we're catching up to him. He's on the hard tyre, so we should really, on paper, be overtaking him, and we are going to do that on lap number 10 through 130R. Just before that, we overtake him, and there is Weber. He's on the soft tyre, so the undercut for him has worked out massively on the softs. He's caught up in a massive amount of traffic, though, with 3 cars going very slow, and they're all going to come in there, so that's done us a favour to maybe try and catch up to Lucas. But yeah, so it looks like generally the undercut is a way to go, but now is the question, can I build a gap to Russell, because he's clearly probably trying the 1-stop, so can I build the gap to Russell to try and make the 2-stop work, and eventually by the the end of this race, stay out ahead of him. I just don't know. Looks like Weber is going to have to try and do the same thing, but Weber might have a lot more pace than me because, as you can see on lap 13, he's already overtaken Sergio Perez and is ahead of me. But now we're up into P7, to be fair, so we've done some really good work there. But now we've got an engine failure ahead of me, and it's Weber. It's Weber with an engine penalty, so with an engine failure. And so, what, as I was saying, he was getting away from us. The F1 gods have struck down upon him, and we've gotten very lucky there. We're up into P6 now. We're chasing after Sergio Perez, and so we've got one less person to worry about and one free position there. Lap 13. I don't know how we're actually in P6, to be fair. I don't know. I feel like we're massively out of sync in this Grand Prix. We must be. The fact that we've made the earlier pit stop is the only reason why we're in P6, and by the time we make our second pit stop, we surely will be behind a lot of cars, because otherwise we've magically jumped up from what was P10 or P11 to P6. I just don't think that's the case, but we overtake Sergio Perez on the hard tyres. We're on the mediums. Again, we should be faster than that Renault on a faster set of tyres, so I'm not too surprised there. We're in P5 now, massive gap to Bottas, and now we just push as hard as we can till our second pit stop, and that'll be the real, answer for our entire Grand Prix. Where do we come out after that second pit stop? And we're going to find the answer pretty soon now as we moved on to the end of lap 18 onto lap 19 there, so a few laps after we overtook Perez, and there he goes flying by down the main straight. We're in for our second stop, another set of medium tyres, and I'm just praying we don't go down the order too much here. We've done some good work. We've actually had some very decent pace in clean air, actually, and so I really feel like the soft tyres were more of a hindrance to us in that first stint. I still think I did mess up a little bit on the setup, and it was a little bit too low downforce for Suzuka, at least with the Alfa Romeo car, but that first stint on those tyres did not help, and the mediums are a much better race car for this car, and we come out in P10 then, ahead of Magnussen, behind Ricciardo though, but we're P10, so we're basically where we were before the first pit stop, so that's not too bad, and we can only go up from here, you'd like to think, on fresh tyres versus people on old hard tyres. We move on to lap 21 though. Leclerc now is chasing after me. He's down the inside. We let him go, to be fair. We ease off on non-ERS and lift off and lift in coast to turn 1. Now Leclerc was behind us because he actually got spun out of the Grand Prix early on. He was actually at the very back of the grid before we made the first pit stop. So I let him by thinking, okay, he's in a Ferrari car. He's at the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Surely he's going to be fast. But actually, by the time we get to through the spoon curves onto the back straight, he's going very slow. So I don't know if he's got a mechanical failure or he's turned down his car for some reason. But we waltzed back past him there. So I don't know even why I let him by in the first place. Obviously you see a Ferrari, so you just think he's going to be faster. So we go through the final chicane. I'm wondering if he's going to have enough traction to overtake us here. But I'm going to stay in hot lap mode and try and actually push a little bit in high. Not using too much fuel though, because we don't have too much to play around with. But let's just see with overtake mode now. Will he try and overtake me? He's got DRS, but no, he's not flying by us like I thought he would be. So I don't know if he's going slow on purpose right now to save tyres, save energy, or he's got an issue. But either way, we're actually going to end up then staying in P10 and catching up to Ricciardo and Lance Stroll in the Racing Point car. So this will be for P8 if we can try and overtake both these guys. We go through the exit. It's a good one for us. No DRS, of course, down this back straight with 130R, but our car is showing some great pace. So we waltz on through on the left-hand side of Dan Ricciardo and Lance Stroll to the inside of 130R, just about getting it through and keep it on the black stuff there. So at this point in the race, our car is working very well. Purple second sector, so the low downforce setup really worked there, wonders down the back straight there. So looking good. So on to lap 23, clean air ahead of us. We've got 4 laps left, and we've got about 8 seconds to close up to George Russell, but he's on very old hard tyres, and so that'll mean by the time we get to lap 27, the last lap of the Grand Prix, towards the last sector, is going to be Sebastian Vettel that has won the Japanese Grand Prix, but we can try and get P7 at the very end of this. Raikkonen's up ahead in P6, so he is going to beat us. Fair play. He's pulled off a one-stop. I did not have the pace and the tyre wear in the first stint to pull off a one-stop, to be fair. In my honest opinion, the two-stop was the better way to go for me, and to be fair, I've had more fun with this two-stop, because here we go now, pull to the left-hand side, down the inside of 130R on the last lap of the Grand Prix for P7 then, and all in all, that's been a pretty solid race, I would say, from P10 to P7, Raikkonen P11 to P6 with that free choice of tyres, and so it's a pretty damn solid race for the entire team, actually, at Suzuka. I'll very much take that, P7 at Japan.
Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you pulled through. Thank you.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint. over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So in the end, Sebastian Vettel won the race. Verstappen second place, surprisingly there, doing very well for the obviously his home, the engine supplier's home Grand Prix. But for us, very good. Raikkonen's good sixth place though carries him up ahead of Dan Ricciardo there. So we're now P7 and 8 in the championship. So it's all very, very 2x2 there. Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, then Alfa Romeo and Renault as well. And it's only when we get to Racing Point that the pattern breaks up there. So they're a bit peculiar in that kind of way. But I guess it kind of shows it's been strung out quite a fair bit in terms of the way the teams have scored points. And again, we solidify our P4 position. That's not really changed, or it's not going to change, I would say, for the rest of the season there. But now is the case of now after can we adapt the pass at the very end of the episode, and then can we try and maybe do some last minute upgrades before we go to Abu Dhabi really.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. Not a good race for Lucas. How do you think he'll be feeling about not finishing?
Obviously an engine failure for Lucas Weber, so I'm just going to be respectful and say I'm sure he'll pick himself up and he'll find the issue for that and just be a bit sportsmanship.
That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you?
And continuing on with the sportsmanship about Raikkonen, just say, yeah, to, pushing each other hard. I mean, I would like to say it's heated, but at that time it definitely wasn't too heated, to be fair to us.
It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it?
And with this answer, I'm just going to say no comment, because I don't think that's going to go well either way with either of those answers, to be honest.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So, like I said then, the question will be at the end of this episode then, do we have enough resource points to maybe finish off those adaptations? Because we had 3 minors, I think it was, to adapt on the R&D tree, and we would have adapted 100% of the aero that we had purchased this season, which means basically into next season, there will be no downwards trajectory for our team. It all just plateau and basically will stay put from where we were from Abu Dhabi into Australia if we were to stay at Alfa Romeo. And there we go, we can actually afford every single adaptation. So we've done it, boys. We've done it. We're successfully. Everything is going to stay the same for our car. So other teams may go down the order in terms of where they end up at Abu Dhabi into Australia for Season 2, but this team will not. So that's a pretty big plus and a big reason to maybe stay put at Alfa Romeo at the end of this season, knowing that wherever we end up at Abu Dhabi in the R&D graph here that you're seeing right now, we will stay there and plateau at that value compared to other teams maybe going down the order. But you can see, relative to other teams, we have actually dropped off quite a fair bit then. We've got Racing Point, Williams and Renault all ahead of us. Not by too much, but they're all ahead of us on paper now. So I'm looking forward to now from Mexico. We've got one upgrade coming, and from after that, trying to actually improve the car once again and trying to get back ahead of the likes of Racing Point and Williams. It's a little bit annoying to see Williams ahead of us because they obviously started off below us at the very start of the season there. But in terms of the actual points, we don't need to worry. We're comfortably in P4, and I'm actually level on points now with Pierre Gasly. So can I start to maybe pile on the pressure for the Frenchman in the Red Bull team and overtake him? And if we do, could that try and interest the top teams perhaps for my services in Season 2? You never know. You never know. But guys, if you did enjoy the episode, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, do subscribe for weekly Formula content. I've been Aarava. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.